Zhu Yuan is the first Ether DPS being introduced to Zenless Zone Zero, and what an entrance she does. Not only has she quite some insane burst damage, she also is very free-to-play friendly as her weapon, spoiler, is not needed at all, and her teams are very flexible as well, with her probably best teammate coming soon. We will cover her kit and how to maximize her damage potential, her best disk drive sets, her stats, her weapons, her mindscapes, her teams, rotations and combos, and have a look at her pros and cons. Welcome, I am Iamrivenous, and this is your complete Zhu Yuan guide. Zhu Yuan is an Ether-type attack agent who specializes in fast-paced burst rotations, switching between melee and ranged attacks while utilizing her own unique resource to empower her basic attacks. With 132 attack, she has the second highest base attack in the game, and fortunately she also makes good use of that. So let's have a quick overview over her kit. Zhu Yuan has two basic attack states, the Assault mode and Suppression mode. Mindlessly spamming basic attack will cast her Assault mode basic attacks, and while holding down basic attack she will perform her Suppression mode basic attack string instead, which will also consume her unique resource Shotgun Shells to empower said attacks. While she is in Assault mode, again these are her normal basics, the 4th or 5th hit generates her one shotgun shell, but only one per basic attack string, and she also gains 3 shells whenever she casts her EX special, chain attack or ultimate. Her core skill also grants her 6 shotgun shells once upon entering the battle, regardless of which mode she is in. If in the suppression mode, she features a 3-hit basic attack string and, as already said earlier, consumes shotgun shells to deal massive ether damage. Regardless of which basic attack you use, you can adjust her direction by moving around, which will have her use her dash attack, overwhelming firepower instead. Her dash attack can also consume shotgun shells, so keep that in mind. Regarding her suppression mode, a large part of her damage dealt comes from the 3rd basic in said suppression mode, but it will also consume 3 shotgun shells at once, which means her full basic string needs 5 shells for highest damage and ether application. If you run out of shotgun shells while you perform said strings, her attacks will instead deal physical damage with a lower multiplier. Also, another interesting part is, while the in-game description does not actually mention it, her Assault mode basic attack string has actually 6 parts to it, with the 6th part actually not being mentioned, and it is this small dash attack at the end which you see on screen right now. It is also not possible to directly enter her suppression mode string from her usual basic sequence, and you will always perform her Assault basic 1, that is the stubble kick attack, and have her do this cool backflip before you actually start with her suppression mode basics. Actually, that is not entirely true, casting her EX special, chain attack or coming directly from her suppression mode basic 3, well, that actually has you skip all of this and you can directly enter her suppression mode basic 1. Let's quickly also talk about her dash attack. Depending on the direction you dash to, not only will you see a different animation, it will also allow you to skip certain parts of her basic attack chains. For example, a sideways dash during Assault mode will always have you follow up with her basic 3. This is a great way to skip her basic 2 and save half a second of time, but bad if used directly after her basic 3, since you will now just loop back to basic 3 over and over again and never reach basic 4, which would generate you a shotgun shell. But this is also a great way to quickly generate a lot of shotgun shells, more on that a little bit later. Another example would be her sideways dash during suppression mode, as it will have you directly follow up with her basic 3 as well. Again, more on that a bit later, please bear with me. There are also many more small intricacies to her basics and mechanics, and as I personally believe those will not be applicable for most players, here is a list of some combos you can perform if you wanna dive really deep into her mechanics I mean. Also, these have been found and compiled by IWTLs, and as he will probably cover those specific mechanics more in depth than I will, go check him out. I will leave a link to his video in the description. That honestly also covers the most important parts of her kit in a simplified way, so let's have a look at her damage distributions. Yes, plural, cause we have to look at her overall damage output as well as her output during the burst phase only. On the left we have her overall output, and on the right the distribution during the enemy stun window. Around 70 to 80% of all her damage dealt comes from said burst phase, which means for us at least it is better to focus on this part, and that will leave her final skill priority at core skill and basics, into ultimate chain, and special into dodge counter and assist. So, as I teased already earlier, let's have a look at her weapons. And her best weapon is the Brimstone, at least if you can maintain all 8 stacks. But even if you cannot, it is still very close to her signature weapon, Damage Suppressor. I mean Riot Suppressor. And it gets even worse when we start looking at actual team calculations instead of single calcs, as even a 4-stack Brimstone will now already be about 8% ahead of her signature weapon. Even the R5 Starlight engine is now crawling up as well, getting as close as nearly 99% efficiency, with the R1 version only being about 6% worse than her signature. While I cannot and honestly also don't want to tell you if that is worth it for you to spend your polychromes on her signature or, well, not, please also take the following into consideration. Riot Suppressor does after all provide double crit values and is very easy to use, which makes it way easier to build her due to less reliance on crit value substat rolls. That said, let's have a look at her disc drives. While a 4-piece chaotic metal with a 2-piece woodpecker is technically her best choice, a 4-piece woodpecker with a 2-piece chaotic comes very close in regards to damage output, even if not at full stacks, as I am calculating with an average of 1.5 stacks for woodpecker here. This means, purely for farming efficiency, a 4-piece woodpecker is, at least for me, the best choice, as you can also use the same set on other DPS units. However, a 4-piece chaotic is very safe and easy to use, and you can also farm it in combination with swing jazz, which is honestly just really nice. Otherwise, any combination seen on screen here is fine, and you will not lose out on too much damage regardless of what you take. So, select whatever has the better substats for you. Regarding the main stats on your disk drives, depending on your weapon, for Partition 4 we are looking mainly for crit damage if we have her signature weapon, or any weapon that provides crit rate for that matter, and crit rate for all the other weapons. Partition 5 would like Ether damage %, but attack % or pen ratio are also okay choices, and Partition 6 much prefers attack %. I mean, we after all, we don't really have much choice here. For the substats, we want to prioritize crit values first and foremost, then look at attack %, and lastly flat attack and flat pen. That also already leaves us with her Mindscapes. Her S1 gives us a somewhat significant damage increase, but that is mostly because it now provides us with more shotgun shells, which is not only a nice quality of life change, but also makes it easier for us to consistently proc her suppression basics, and we can now simply cast more of those instead of having to rely on our normal basics to generate said shotgun shells. However, overall her sequences are not that great, with an average damage increase of around 60% going from Mindscape 0 to Mindscape 6. Which is yet another reason why she is very free to play friendly, cause even if you would spend a lot and get her Cinema 6, it is not that much of an increase. So, in case you are wondering why her Cinema 6 is so low, we need to first consume 12 shotgun shells to even get an empowered and discounted EX special, which now kinda would hit outside during the enemy stun window, and the 880 MV are honestly not the greatest thing either. It sounds really good, but it actually isn't. The best part here being you will literally never run out of shotguns ever again, and honestly, due to that you will also likely just overcap. Having all that said, these videos, and honestly the calcs behind much more so, take a lot of time to make, and if you like them and find them useful, I would appreciate a like and a comment on the video. Let me know in the comments below if you are getting Zhu Yuan or not, and why. Let's cover her teams. Fortunately for us, Zhu Yuan can be paired with any support unit, and that gives her a pretty broad range for pairings. Unfortunately for us, her best teammate is still yet to come. However, she still has some good pairings, at least as of release, and any mix match of Nicole, Rina, Lucy, or even Sokaku, and any stunner, for example Collider, Lycon, or Ambi, will do their job. Looking at her currently best teams, she pairs well with Nicole or Rina and Ambi, but can also be played with Collider and Lucy, or even Lycon and Sokaku, even though the latter two will likely be occupied by your Ellen, at least if you have her. All in all, she is very flexible, and as long as you bring any support, she can activate her passive even without any other unit of the same faction. and honestly you kinda really just want that 30% crit rate. So now we are left with the question, how do we play her? This section will consist out of two parts. The first part is the, let's call it skill issue one, and meant for the people who either don't care about getting the maximum potential out of her, or for people like me who simply have the skill issues and can't do the other one. It is a simplified version which will serve you well, but does not bring out her maximum potential. The second part will be advanced and might require a little bit of practice. Let's start with part 1. While you are outside the stun window, you mostly want to spend time on your other two units, mainly your stunner. However, to sustain a good shotgun shell economy, we will need to still generate at least one shotgun shell in between every stun window, and a singular assault mode basic 1, 2, 3 and 4 will do the magic for us here. If you have her Mindscape 1, you can skip the basic string. We can also add in a triple special cast if we just want a little bit more ether application. It actually doesn't take that long to cast this. However, make sure you do keep her EX special for the stun window. So let's dive into the stun window. As every full suppression mode basic string requires 5 shotgun shells for maximum efficiency, we want to aim for 10 shotgun shells during the stun window. We will start off with our chain attack and follow up directly with 1 EX special into 3 suppression mode basics. The chain attack grants us 3 shotgun shells, the EX special also will give us 3, and we have 1 left over from our basic string earlier. That makes 7 in total, and our basics consume 5, which means we will be left with 2 shotgun shells, at which point we can cast our ultimate and are back at 5 shells. This is just enough for yet another suppression basic chain 1, 2 and 3. This is a very basic rotation to repeat over and over again, and you are honestly mostly gated by your ultimate. If you do not have your ultimate available, you will need to fit in more basic strings outside and possibly even during the stun window. If you have her Mindscape 1, her base rotation changes to chain attack into 6 suppression mode basics, into ultimate, into EX special, into 3 suppression mode basics. However, you might find yourself having to use her enhanced basics even outside of the enemy stun window due to time constraints. But that is okay, any damage is better than no damage. That has been part 1, now let's get to part 2. As I already mentioned earlier, there are ways to abuse her dash attacks to skip certain parts of her basic attack strings. This is what we will make use of here. And I will be real, when I said before, might require a little bit of practice. I lied. It is actually really freaking difficult because enemies are very aggressive and my skill issues at least are too big to actually consistently use that in combat. Anyway. Outside the stun window, we will start off with Assault Basic 1 into 3 times Sideways Dash Attack into Basic 3 and Basic 4. This will generate us 3 shotgun shells, and after doing so we can continue with our other team members to get the enemy into its stun window, and also maybe build up some buffs for example. Now we can enter the enemy stun window with said 3 shotgun shells, and we can go chain attack into EX special, which will leave us at said 9 shells, which we can now unload completely in one quick succession. Suppression mode basic 1 into 3 times suppression sideways dash attack into basic 3. As each dash attack will also consume 1 shotgun shell, that makes for 9 in total. Follow up with her ultimate and again suppression mode basic 1 into the sideways dash attack into suppression basic 3, or honestly a simple suppression mode basic 1, 2, 3 does the job as well. If you have her Mindscape 1, her rotation here would change to chain attack into EX special into B1 into 4 times sideways dash into B3 into her ultimate and again B1, then repeat 4 times sideways dash into B3. If you were to use this rotation consistently, you would gain a massive increase of about 6% DPS. So yeah, up to you if that is worth it for you. Please keep in mind, it is not always possible to follow preset rotations, so here are some smaller combos for you on screen. Pause if you need to. So lastly, let's cover her pros and cons. Let's start with the latter because there are honestly not many. Personally, I can only think of 2. First up, her probably best teammate is still yet to come, as her current synergies are good but not exceptional. Secondly, she is very reliant on good resource management for optimal damage potential, at least without her Mindscape 1. If you waste her shotgun shells, she loses a lot of damage and she will also take quite a bit of time to recover. For the pros, she has a really low skill floor with a high skill ceiling, many possible iframes, is very flexible in her teams, does not require her weapons nor very specific sets, and her Mindscapes are actually not that relevant. If at all, we can argue that her M1 lowers her skill floor even further, reducing resource management you have to take care of. And that honestly also already covers everything you need to know. Feel free to check out IWTL's video for a more in-depth explanation on quite a few of her possible basic attack string combos. And that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you liked this video, let me know if you're pulling for Zhu Yuan in the comments below, don't forget to subscribe for more ZZZ content, join the Discord if you haven't yet, the link is in the description, and have a great day.
See you later too.
Peace.